Hola amigos and welcome back for another exciting week of Español. This week we are moving on to capítulo 6 titled ¿Quieres comer conmigo esta noche? In this chapter you will be learning about how to communicate about foods, beverages, and dining, how to make comparisons and express superlatives, how to order foods and beverages in a restaurant, and you're also going to learn how to communicate about past events using the preterite tense. Within that, we will study the regular preterite, the stem changing preterite, and the irregular preterite. And then finally, we'll wrap up our lesson making sure that you know how to use the expression hace plus a period of time plus a k to express how long it has been since something happened. So we're going to get started by taking a look here at a lovely restaurant. And for the sake of time, we're not going to go through every single one of these vocab words, but it is important that you do study these in detail. So we'll start here on the right. You can see a table setting. So one of the most important words for you to know is el plato, the plate. On the plate here, you have la servilleta, a napkin. Here we have el menú, a menu. El vaso, a glass. La cuchara, a spoon. El tenedor, a fork. La taza, a mug or a coffee mug usually. El cuchillo, a knife. And la copa, a glass, usually referred to for wine. La copa de vino. Over here, you see this couple eating, and you can see this man is having a glass of vino tinto, red wine, and this woman is having a glass of vino blanco, white wine. On the table, they have sal y pimienta, salt and pepper. He's having some sopa, soup. There's some mantequilla on the table, mantequilla and pan, butter and bread. Be careful. I always joke with my students that that butter will quilla, mantequilla, butter. That butter will quilla. Um, and then you can see this woman is having an ensalada de lechuga, tomate y huevo duro. So she's having some lettuce, some tomato, and an egg. Okay, finally, you see this last table down here, and they're having some other beverages. La cerveza, a beer. This guy is drinking el agua mineral con gas. Very important for you to know, if you do go to another country, you have to specify if you want agua con gas or agua sin gas. A lot of times if you just say agua, you'll end up with agua con gas, which is like a almost like a sparkling, like a mineral water. It is an acquired taste. So just FYI there, el agua con gas or el agua sin gas. It's carbonated water basically. La langosta, lobster, la leche, milk, el sándwich de jamón y queso, a ham and cheese sandwich, so on and so forth, a refresco, a soft drink. Lots of good vocab here. This is full of vocab in this chapter. It's important that you know about the different types of meals. El almuerzo is lunch, el desayuno, breakfast, and la cena, dinner. Some other things you might see, you'll see the word asado, which is roasted. I think there was one back here, el pollo asado, roasted chicken. Frito, fried. Over here you saw papas fritas, fried potatoes, or we would say French fries. And tostado, toasted, obviously. Pan tostado, toasted bread. So one of the activities you might have to do relating to this vocabulary this week is something that'll look kind of like this. You're going to be given a series of groups of food, and you have to decide which one goes with which. So for example, letter A gives you el café y el jugo. Coffee and juice. Well, where would coffee and juice fall in? Well, coffee and juice are both beverages, so we're going to put them with number 5, bebidas. Okay. Another example, jamón y pollo. Well, jamón is ham and pollo, chicken. Jamón y pollo are both types of meat. So in this case, jamón y pollo will go with number 1, las carnes, meats. I want you to take a moment, pause your audio, and try to match up letters C through F. Okay. Now that you've had a second to give these a try, letter C talks about sal y pimienta, salt and pepper. Salt and pepper are both considered condiments, so we're going to match those with letter 4, condimentos. Letter D gives us flan. Oh, I need some flan right now. Flan and helado. Oh, amazing things. Flan is wonderful, and helado, ice cream. So flan and helado are both types of desserts, so we're going to put those with number 6, los postres. And letter E, we have la langosta y los camarones. Langosta, lobster, and camarones, shrimp. Lobster and shrimp are both types of seafood or shellfish. So we're going to match letter E with mariscos, shellfish. Okay, and then finally, lechuga y papa, lettuce and a potato. Those are both types of verduras, vegetables. Okay, so just some practice with your vocab there. One of the major takeaways in this chapter relates to comparatives and superlatives. We're going to start with comparatives, and you have one in Spanish are called equal comparatives and unequal comparisons. So as you look at these, when you compare yourself to someone else, you might say, man, he's smarter, he's taller, he's nicer, right? So those would be examples of unequal comparisons because you're saying literally that he is more tall than, more smart than, more nice than. You typically see these unequal comparisons used with adjectives, adverbs, or nouns. For example, you can say that someone is más tímido que, more timid than. You could say someone is más pronto que, something happens más pronto que, more soon than or sooner than. Or that someone has más hambre que, more hunger than. In each of these cases, with your unequal comparisons, you're going to use más, more, or menos, less, and then in the middle, an adjective, an adverb, or a noun, and a que. In this case, your que is communicating than. Some other irregular comparisons that you need to know about, you have mejor, better, peor, worse. A lot of weddings you hear por mejor o peor, for better or for worse. Mejor, better, peor, worse. Also, you have menor, younger, and mayor, older. I always tell students to remember these because mayor kind of looks like the word mayor in English. And the mayor, I don't know about you, but in my town, the mayor is some old dude. So mayor, older. Mayor, okay? Menor kind of looks like the word minor. A minor is someone who's under 18 years of age. So menor, younger. Menor, mayor, menor, mejor, peor. Okay, so you have all those unequal comparisons. You also have equal comparisons as well, and these are communicated as blank as. So he is as nice as she is. He is as intelligent as she is. So on and so forth. With the equal comparisons, you see these used with adjectives and adverbs most frequently. So for example, tan nublado como, as cloudy as, or tan frecuentemente como, as frequently as. There are some situations where you will use this with a noun, and when you do that, we end up with tanto, tanta, tantos, and tantas. So, this is where they have to agree. So, instead of saying as blank as nice as silly as whatever as, you're saying as much blank as. So, as much money as many people as many days as many parties as, so on and so forth. And when you're using it with a noun, notice they have to agree. So dinero is masculine singular. So tanto has to agree with dinero. It ends in an O because it's masculine singular. Same thing with gente. Gente is feminine singular. So tanta in this case ends in an A. Días, days, are masculine plural. So you get tantos. And fiestas, feminine plural. So you get tantas. So just be careful with those. We're going to look at plenty of examples of these to give you a little more practice. Okay, so going back to those unequal comparisons, where you're saying more or less, whatever than, I've written a sentence here that says that Dawson is taller than Grayson. Okay, so in this sentence, Dawson is, remember there's no such thing as in Spanish. We can't say taller. So we have to say that Dawson is more tall than. Dawson es más alto que Grayson. In this case, we used alto because Dawson is a male. Okay, so if I said that Dawson es más alto que Kelly, it doesn't matter that Kelly's a girl. We're still going to say alto because alto refers back to the subject of our sentence, which is Dawson. Dawson is taller than Grayson. For example, I can flip it around and say that Grayson is taller than Meg, in which case I would say that Grayson es más alta que Meg. Grayson is a female. So alta, in this case, agrees with Grayson. So even if I said Grayson is taller than Dawson, I would still say Grayson es más alta que Dawson. It depends on whoever's at the beginning of your sentence. That's what your adjective must agree with. Okay, some other unequal comparisons here. We can use less, menos, instead of más. We're saying that Nate is less athletic than LeBron James. So we're going to say that Nate es menos atlético que LeBron James. Literally less athletic than. Atletico agrees with Nate. Okay, so how would you say that Ryan Gosling is less attractive than Channing Tatum using the adjective atractivo? Okay, in this case, you're going to say that Ryan Gosling es menos atractivo que Channing Tatum. In this case, atractivo agrees with Ryan Gosling. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing how these work. I'm going to give you a few to try. So, you see two people here. A la izquierda, to the left, tenemos The Rock Johnson. Y a la derecha, to the right, we have Zac Efron. I want you to tell me that The Rock is something, 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 Zac Efron, using the adjective tall. Okay? Well, if we're saying that The Rock is taller than, we're going to say literally he is more tall than. The Rock es más, which does have an accent on the A, más alto que Zac Efron. Notice I used alto and made it agree with The Rock. No other changes were necessary there. The Rock es más alto que Zac Efron. Another example here, we have Action Bronson to the left who is 36 years old, and we have Wiz Khalifa to the right, who is 32 years old, and we're using the term older. So I want you to tell me that Action Bronson is older than Wiz Khalifa. How might we do that? Good. You know that older in this case is mayor. Remember, the mayor is an old dude. So Action Bronson es mayor que Wiz Khalifa. There's no such thing as más mayor que, just plain old mayor que, because mayor already means older. Okay, let's do a few more. Here we have Will Ferrell to the left and Mr. Bolt here to the right, and we're using the word fast. So I think it goes without saying that Mr. Bolt here is quite a bit faster than Mr. Ferrell. So we want to say that Will Ferrell is less fast than Mr. Bolt. So less fast than, you're going to say less, menos, fast, rápido, than. Okay. In this case, rápido agrees with Will Ferrell, who is a male. Okay. Try one more. Chloe Moretz is blankety blankety blank, and we're using the word famoso with Kylie Jenner. So, who is Chloe more or less famous than Kylie Jenner? We would probably say she is less famous because I honestly don't know who this person is. So, Chloe Moretz is less famous. We're going to say less, menos, famous, famoso, than. Okay, Kylie Jenner. And here we have two people from the awesome show Riverdale. On the left, we have Jughead Jones, and on the right, we have Archie Andrews. Tell me that both are equally famous. So your sentence is going to say that Jughead Jones is as famous as Archie Andrews. In this case, this is a equal comparison. Okay, you may remember with equal comparisons, you use that tan blank como. So I'm going to say Jughead Jones es tan blank como Archie Andrews, and Jughead Jones is as famous tan famoso como Archie Andrews. So as famous as. Okay. In this case, using alto, tell me who's taller. Well, looks like they're both about 5'3". They're equally as tall, if you will. So we don't know their names, so we're just going to use él, he, and ella, she. We're going to say that él es tan alto como, as tall as, ella. Tan alto como. Again, alto agreed with the subject of our sentence, él, in this case. All right, so hopefully you're feeling okay about those comparisons and how they're made in Spanish. We also have superlatives. You may remember back in the day to high school when you did senior superlatives. Superlatives, if you have your adjective tall, and then you have taller as your comparison, a superlative would be tallest. So pretty, prettier, prettiest. So all of these are usually communicated in Spanish as ist, darkest, angriest, biggest, bravest, brightest, so on and so forth. So in Spanish, to form a superlative, we have a certain structure that we use. So generally you start with a noun, a más or a menos, an adjective, a de, and another noun. For example, tengo, I have, A noun, la familia, the family. Más, more or most. Adjective, simpática, which agreed with familia. Notice this ends in an A, that ends in an A, so this has to end in A. De Caracas. So I have the most nice family in Caracas, basically is what I'm saying, or we would say that I have the nicest family in Caracas. Okay, you can see some other examples here. I have the friends most blank of the world. Okay, so the nicest friends, the best friends, so on and so forth. There are, just like there were irregular comparisons, there are also irregular superlatives, and you see some of those here. So again, you're starting out with your el, la, los, or las. You have your irregular adjective from before, and then a day. So for example, el criollito es el mejor restaurante de Caracas. So el criollito is the best restaurant of or in Caracas. Okay, if you wanted to say it was the worst restaurant, you would say el peor restaurante. If you want to say it's the oldest restaurant, el mayor restaurante, or el restaurante más viejo. So, some more examples. I know these are hard. Just to give you that structure again, your el, la, los, or las, más or menos, an adjective and a day. I've given you a sentence here that says that esta aspiradora es la más cara de toda la tienda. So this vacuum cleaner is the most expensive, la más cara. I used la, referring back to the feminine noun, aspiradora, and it's the most expensive, the más cara, of the whole store, toda la tienda. Okay, another example here, how would I ask that, or how would I say that Dawson is the tallest in the class, or he is the most tall? I would say that Dawson es the, I used el because I'm referring to one male, he, Dawson, más alto, most tall, de la clase, he's the tallest in the class. Some other examples, you also see this commonly used, the el, la, los, or las, a noun, más or menos, an adjective and a day, as we said before. I've given you an example that Grayson vive en la casa más grande de toda la calle. So, toda la calle. So that Grayson lives in the biggest house on the whole street. In this case, I've used la casa, the house, there's my la and my noun, most big, más grande, my más and my adjective, and then a day. So, if I wanted to say that this class is the nicest class at Pellissippi, I would say that esta clase, this class, is the class, la clase, most nice, más simpática, de Pellissippi State Community College. You don't need the Universidad de. So de Pellissippi State. Esta clase es la clase más simpática, the class most nice, the house most big, the most tall, the most expensive, so on and so forth. Those are your superlatives. Okay, I know these are hard, so I want to give us a little bit of practice. So using this expression up top, the el, la, los, or las, a más or menos, an adjective and a day, I want you to tell me that Marta is the tallest. In which case I've said Marta es la más alta de todos. Now, why did I use la here? Because Marta is one female, singular. So I used la. If I've been talking about one male, I would have used el. If I'm talking about two males or a mixed group, los. If I was talking about multiple females, las. Okay? In number 2, it tells us that Edu is the most ugly. So Eduardo probably. So Edward, Eduardo, es, is the most ugly. Well, Eduardo is one male, so we're going to use el. He's the most ugly, el más feo, and he's the most ugly of all. El más feo de todos. Okay? If I wanted to say that Juan is the least athletic, how would I do that? I'm going to start with Juan, obviously. Juan is, and he's the least. So I'm talking about one male. I'm going to use el, the least, el menos athletic, el menos atlético de todos. Okay? My cousin is the youngest. Senor Harrison is the best. Okay, again, I'm going to say my cousin, mi primo, this is a male cousin, I guess. My cousin is el, he's the oldest. Remember, these are our irregular superlative, so I don't need anything in between, just el mejor, blah, 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 el peor, blah, blah, blah. So in this case, my cousin is the youngest, es el menor de todos. He's the youngest. Senor Harrison is the best. Senor H es el mejor. He's the best. Okay? Nothing in between those because those are your irregular superlatives from before. So just el, la, los, or las, and mejor, mayor, peor, menor. Hopefully you're feeling okay about those. The major grammar topic covered in this chapter is the preterite tense, and we're going to spend the rest of the semester talking about the preterite, so it's very, very important that you have a good grasp of it now, okay? So first, before we dive into the preterite, I want to make sure you remember your subject pronouns, which we talked about a little more in Chapter 5, and also in all of Spanish 1010. As you look here, you have yo, which means I, tú, you informal, él, he, ella, she, usted, you formal, nosotros and nosotras, both of which mean we, vosotros and vosotras, both of which mean you all in Spain, ellos and ellas, that mean they, and ustedes, you all. In Spanish 1010, we learned how to conjugate an AR verb in the present tense, in which case we chopped off the AR and we added o, as, a, amos, ais, and an. Hopefully you remember that. Also, in Spanish 1010, we learned how to conjugate ER verbs, where we chopped off the ER and we added o, es, a, amos, ace, and en. We also learned how to conjugate IR verbs, which are very similar to those ER verbs. For your IR verbs, you had the endings of o, es, a, imos, is, and en. So the only difference between the IR and ER was the nosotros and vosotros. This is the present tense. So I talk, I eat, I write. The preterite is one of the two past tenses in Spanish we're going to be learning about today. And for the preterite, instead of saying I talk, you're going to say I talked or I spoke. Instead of I eat, you're going to say I ate. Instead of I write, I wrote. Okay, so we're doing this in the past tense. So the preterite is coming. Prepare yourselves. Okay. As I said, the preterite is one of the two past tenses in Spanish. We usually use it to talk about completed actions in the past. So, preparé una sopa de mariscos para la cena. So I made a seafood soap dish, a seafood soup dish. I got my words confused. A seafood soup dish for dinner. We also use the preterite to talk about actions with a specific beginning and a specific end. So, ayer nos levantamos, nos duchamos, nos vestimos y salimos para la universidad. So yesterday we got ourselves up, we showered ourselves, we got dressed, and we left to go to the university. So notice there's a nos in front of all those because those are reflexive verbs. Hopefully you remember reflexive verbs from last chapter. In this case, this is a specific big time period. So we're saying that yesterday we did all these things. It's very specific. And then we also use the preterite oftentimes to narrate a story. So Shrek fue al bosque, salvó la princesa y regresó a casa. So Shrek, he went out to the woods, he saved the princess, and he came home. Okay, so these are common uses of the preterite. Don't feel like you have to memorize those just yet. We're going to spend plenty of time in chapter 7 and chapter 8 talking about preterite and imperfect and that kind of thing. So first, I just want you to know how to conjugate the preterite. So we're going to start with an AR verb. You have new endings here. So we're going to chop off that AR, and we're going to throw on these special preterite endings. So notice before, for an AR verb in the present tense, you had o, as, a, amos, ais, an. Well, that was the present. The preterite has different endings, and here those endings are aste, o, amos, astes, and aron. These are your preterite endings. The cool thing about the preterite is that ER and IR verbs actually use the same ending, so you only have to memorize 2 sets instead of 3. So for ER and IR verbs, you have iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. I strongly recommend writing these down, jotting them down, reading them 10 times. Make sure you have these like permanently ingrained in your brain. Okay, so one more time for an AR verb. Aste, o, amos, astes, aron. For an ER or an IR verb, iste, io, imos, istes, ieron. So let's go through the steps together to conjugate. Let's say we have a verb like hablar. We're going to chop off that AR. We're going to hobble on down, carrying our HABL, our stem, all the way down. And we're going to throw our preterite endings on there. We get hablé, hablaste, habló, hablamos, hablastes, and hablaron. All we did was take off the AR and throw those preterite endings on there. I want you to try now using the verb mirar, which means to watch or to look at. So as we conjugate mirar, pause your audio and give this one a try, please. All right, now that you've had a chance to try for mirar, first step, we're going to chop off that AR. We are going to carry down the stem, the MIR, all the way down in all the boxes. And we're going to throw our preterite endings on there. Aste, o, amos, astes, and aron. So we end up with mire, I watched. Miraste, you watched. Miró, he or she watched. Miramos, we watched. Mirastes, you all in Spain watched. And miraron, they watched. Let's try another verb like beber. I'll do this one with you, and I'm going to give you one to try. So beber is to drink. If you want to say that I drank, we're going to chop off our ER, carry down the beb, B-E-B, all the way down. And then you may be reminded of a Justin Bieber song. Whenever you throw your ending on here, you get baby, just like, oh, baby, 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 oh, right? So baby, I drank. To say you drank, baby stay. He or she drank, bebió. We drank, bebimos. You all in Spain drank, bebistes. And ellos, ellas, ustedes, bebieron. They drank, or you all drank. So notice, we just threw those endings on there. Iste, io, imos, istes, ieron. I want you to try one now. This is the verb comer, to eat. Take a moment, pause your audio, and give conjugating comer a try for me. All right, now that you've had a second to try, with comer, our first step, we're going to chop off our ER. Carry down the COM, the stem. Next, we're going to throw our preterite endings on there. Iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron. So we end up with comí, I ate. Comiste, you ate. Comió, he or she ate. Comimos, we ate. Comistes, you all in Spain ate. And comieron, they ate, or you all ate. Okay, again, with an IR verb, it's the same process since they have the same endings as ER verbs. So for vivir, to live, chop off your IR, carry down the viv, throw your preterite endings on there for an ER-IR verb, iste, io, imos, istes, ieron, and you get vivi, viviste, vivió, vivimos, vivistes, vivieron. I lived, you lived, he or she lived, we lived, you all in Spain lived, and they lived. Okay, I want you to try the verb escribir now. Escribir means to write. Take a moment, pause your audio, and give a try for conjugating this verb in the preterite. All right, now that you've had a second to try these, with escribir, we know that escribir means to write. We're going to chop off our IR, carry down the escrib, and then we're going to add our endings for an IR verb, iste, io, imos, istes, and ieron, and we get escribí. Escribiste, escribió, escribimos, escribistes, and escribieron. Okay, so that's your verb escribir. Now, there are some irregular verbs in the preterite, and I nicknamed these car, gar, ZAR verbs. I call them that because they oftentimes end in car, gar, and ZAR. So some common ones, you have suplicar, to beg, that's a car verb. Tocar, to play, as in to play music, that's a car verb. A gar verb, some of these that end in gar, you have jugar, to play a sport. Pagar, to pay, like to pay money. Apagar, to turn off. Comenzar is a ZAR verb because it ends in ZAR. Comenzar means to start. Cazar, to hunt. And danzar, to dance. All right, so you're asking, well, Mr. Harrison, what is so weird about these? Well, let's look at it. So for tocar, the first thing you might think of doing here is what? Chopping off your AR, yeah, so you get tok. All right, normal so far. Dropped off the AR, carried him down. Well, it's an AR verb in the preterite, so I'm going to add my endings on there, right? Well, my endings for a preterite AR verb, you may remember, aste, o, amos, astes, aron. Let's slap those on there. Well, when you do that, you get tose. tosaste, tosó, tosamos, tosastes, tosaron. And you're almost right. Everything's correct except for that yo form. We don't say tose because verbs that end in car in Spanish, the car changes to Q-U-E, pronounced as K. So instead of tose, we get toque. So verbs that end in car change to K only in the yo form. Again, you'll see all those others are totally normal. There's no problems with them. They're great. It's just that yo form that is irregular. So car ZAR verbs are what we call irregular yo verbs in the preterite. So that's why you have toque instead of tose. So car verbs change to K. Let's look at gar verbs. Take a verb like jugar, to play a sport. Chop off your AR in jugar and carry down the jug, J-U-G, all the way down. Jug, jug, jug. Okay, if I want to say that I played, again, take a look at those AR verb endings. Asteo, amos, astesaron. Throw those on there. You get jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastes, jugaron, and all those are good. But we don't say jugué, again, because gar ZAR verbs are irregular yo verbs. The yo form is always going to be irregular in the preterite, and you will learn now that gar verbs change to gay. So instead of jugué, you get jugué. So jugué, I played. Jugaste, you played. Jugó, he or she played. Jugamos, we played. Jugastes, you all in Spain played. And jugaron, they played. Okay, so car verbs change to que. Gar verbs change to ge. Now we're going to find out about ZAR verbs. Okay, so the verb almorzar, which is from this chapter, it means to lunch, literally, or to have lunch, we might say. Same deal here. Chop off your AR, carry down the stem, A-L-M-O-R-Z. Throw your AR preterite endings on there. Almorcé, almorzaste, almorzó, almorzamos, almorzastes, almorzaron. All these are totally cool, except for that yo form. Okay, because before you learned that verbs that end in car change to que, verbs that end in gar change to ge, and verbs that end in sar change to se. So you get almorcé. This is just a pronunciation thing, almorcé. Okay? So again, the trick here is that verbs that end in car change to que, verbs that end in gar change to ge, and verbs that end in sar change to se. This only happens in the yo form, nowhere else. Okay? So I want to give you a chance to practice these. Again, you have number one, the verb jugar, and the subject yo. So you're trying to say that I play. We're going to take jugar. We're going to chop off our AR. We're going to add our preterite ending of E with an accent. And that's not right. We don't say jugué because verbs that end in gar change to ge only in the yo form. Okay? I want you to pause your audio. Give the rest of these a try on your own. Remember, this only affects the yo form, so all the others will just be normal old preterite, chopping off your AR, ER, and IR ending and adding those conjugations like you did before. Okay? All right, now that you've had a second to try these, as you look at numbers 2, 3, and 4, for tu and jugar, took my verb jugar, chopped off my AR, and added my form aste, the ending, and I got jugaste. I'm done. I don't have to change gar to ge or anything like that because it's not in the yo form. I'm good to go. Number 3 says el en tocar. Well, I took my verb tocar, chopped off my AR, and added an O with an accent, my preterite ending for the él, ella, usted form. So I got tocó, he or she played. No further changes are necessary because this is not the yo form. However, when I do number 4, yo en tocar, I chop off my AR en tocar, I add an E with an accent, and that's wrong, right? Because verbs that end in car change to que. Verbs that end in gar change to ge, and verbs that end in sar change to se. Finally, in number 5, we see nosotros en pagar. We take our verb pagar, chop off our AR, and add back our normal nosotros ending in the preterite form for an AR verb, which is amos. We arrive with pagamos, which is the correct answer. Okay, so you've learned about the regular preterite. You've learned about irregular yo verbs in the preterite. Now you're going to learn about some spelling changes in the preterite. And these are not too complicated. It's mostly just a pronunciation thing, okay? So, first up, verbs that are ER and IR verbs, verbs ending in ER or IR. If they have a vowel before the infinitive ending, in the preterite tense, you're going to see the I change to a Y in the third person singular and plural forms. Okay, if that sounds like Greek to you, let me say it another way. Okay, so remember that a vowel is an A, E, I, O, or U. If you have a verb that has a vowel, an A, E, I, or U, right next to the infinitive ending, right next to the ER or IR, this doesn't affect AR verbs, only ER and IR verbs. So for example, creer has an E next to the ER. Leer has an E next to the ER. Oír has an O next to the IR. In this case, the I of your preterite ending, because remember your ending for the preterite, if we back up for an ER or an IR verb, your ending over here was an IO, EO, right? So in that case, your EO is going to change, and that I is going to change to a Y. So look at the verb leer. You take off your ER in leer, you go to conjugate it, you're left with LE all the way down. You add your preterite endings on there, iste, io, imos, istes, ieron. You can see now you have three vowels right here together, E, I, and O, E, I, and E. That doesn't work in Spanish. That's too many vowels. It's like word vomit, okay? So again, for verbs that end in ER or IR that have a vowel next to that ER or IR in their infinitive form before you conjugate, you know that when you conjugate in the third person, aka the bottom left and bottom right boxes, the he, she, and they boxes, that this I is going to change to a Y. So instead of leio, you get leyo. Instead of leyeron, you get leyeron, where that I is changing to a Y. Okay? Hopefully that is making some sense. I want to also tell you quickly about some preterite trigger words. These are words that anytime you see them, they're always 110% of the time going to be used with the preterite. These are going to be more important next chapter, but I wanted to go ahead and just throw these at you so that you have a little bit of understanding before next chapter. So some common words: ayer, yesterday; anteayer, the day before yesterday; anoche, last night; la semana pasada, last week; el mes pasado, last month; el año pasado, last year; and really anything with pasado. El lunes pasado, last Monday; el martes pasado, last Tuesday. So on and so forth. Anything with pasado is going to trigger the preterite. Okay? So as we keep moving here, you see a couple of questions that are going to ask you to use your knowledge of Kargar's ZAR verbs that are irregular in the yo form and those spelling changes in the preterite for those ER and IR verbs that have a vowel right before the ER IR. It's going to ask you to use that knowledge you just learned to finish these sentences. So look at the example in the modelo. You see, nosotros entrar a la cocina para preparar arepas. So we to enter in the kitchen in order to prepare some arepas. So we need to change entrar and make it agree with nosotros to say that we enter. So we're going to chop off our AR entrar and we get entramos. No further changes are necessary here. This is just a normal old regular preterite verb. Nosotros entramos a la cocina. Okay? Number one says mi esposo, my husband, my spouse, leer, to read, and la receta, the prescription, or in some case the recipe as well. So number one, my husband read the recipe. We're going to take mi esposo. For leer, you would think it would become Leio, right? But remember, leer is one of those verbs that has a vowel before the ER or IR. So in that case, the I changes to a Y, and you end up with leyó la receta. Okay? I'd like for you to take a moment, and I want you to try on your own numbers 2, 3, and 4. Please take a moment, go ahead and pause your audio, and give 2, 3, and 4 a try for me, please. All right, now that you've had a second to try. Number 2 says, yo buscar los ingredientes. So I, to look for the ingredients. Well, we want to take that verb buscar, to look for. We want to change it to say I looked for. It's tempting just to take off the AR and throw an E on there, but remember, this is a car verb. It ends in CAR. Verbs that end in car, in the preterite, in the yo form, car verbs change to K. So instead of busqué, you should get busqué. I searched for the ingredients. Number 3 says that mis hijos formar las arepas. So my kids are putting the arepas together. They're making them, they're putting them together, forming them. So my kids, they formed. We're going to take formar, chop off your AR in formar, and add your preterite ending of aron. Mis hijos formaron las arepas. Number 4, nosotros cocinar las arepas. We cooked them. Cocinar, to cook. Chop off your AR and throw an amos on the end. Nosotros cocinamos las arepas. We cooked the arepas. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling okay on these. Something else I may ask you to do, I may give you a paragraph where they're all together. So, for example, these are all mixed together. All the preterite you've learned, the spelling changers, the regular ones, the ZAR verbs, are all mixed together. It says that yo leer mucha información sobre Charles Brewer Carías. So I read a lot of information about Charles Brewer Carías, and I arrived, llegar, a la conclusión de que es un hombre muy interesante. So I read a lot of information about Charles, and I arrived at the conclusion that he is a man who's very interesting. So I read leer. I'm going to take my verb here, leer, chop off my ER, and I'm going to throw an I with an accent, leí. I read a lot of information. And I arrived, llegar. Okay, we'll take our verb llegar. I bet I'm just going to chop off the ER and throw an E on there, right? No, sir, because ZAR verbs change to ge, only in the yo form and the preterite. Okay, so it's more of what you've already been doing, just kind of mixed together. For the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and continue moving, but if you have more questions about that, let me know. I'll be glad to talk to you. Our next section of this chapter pertains to vocabulary about ordering your food in a restaurant. Woohoo! This is one of my favorite things to do, and I always, if I have an in-person class, I usually offer extra credit and give you the opportunity to go to a restaurant and record yourself ordering your food. We don't really necessarily have time to do that in this particular format, so but if that's something you're interested in, we can talk about it. Okay, anyway, so we're going to start over here to the left. They're numbered. You see number 1 and number 2. So looking at number 1 over here, you see this guy in the suit. He's saying, ¿Podemos ver el menú antes de pedir? Could we see the menu before ordering, please? And he's actually responding to the waiter here who said, Buenas tardes, ¿qué desean comer? So, good afternoon, buenas tardes, ¿qué desean comer? What would y'all like to eat? And this is when the dude in the suit says, well, can we see the menu before ordering? And he says, ¿Cómo no? Enseguida. Of course, ¿cómo no? Why not? Of course. Enseguida, right away. So, in our second thought bubble here, you see the man in the suit asking, ¿Está fresca la langosta? So, ¿está fresca? Is it fresh? Remember from our last chapter talking about ser and estar, fresh is a condition. So is the lobster fresh? And the waiter says, oh, sí, está muy fresca. Pero hoy recomiendo el pescado. Está buenísimo. Es la especialidad de la casa. So, oh my gosh, yes, the lobster, it is so fresh. But today, I recommend the fish because it is really good. Buenísimo. And it's the house specialty. It's our special tonight, you might say. La especialidad de la casa. Let's keep reading and see what happens next. Here we have 3, 4, and 5, so we're going to continue reading from left to right. So as you look here at this thought bubble, now you see the woman in the pink getting ready to order. She says, yo quisiera el pescado con la ensalada de casa. So yo quisiera. Say that with me. Quisiera. Quisiera comes from the verb querer, and here we're saying I would like. Yo quisiera el pescado con la ensalada de la casa. I would like the fish with a house salad. And the waiter says, y para el señor, and for you, sir. And he says, well, voy a comer los calamares fritos. I want some fried calamari. Fried squid, basically. And then in number 4, they ask, algo para picar? So anything to snack on, anything to pick on, literally, so kind of like an appetizer. And in response, I believe it's, the guy here is talking, and he says, queremos unas arepas y algo más ligero, como la sopa del día. So I want some arepas and the daily soup. Over here, he gets their drinks last, which is kind of weird, but he says, y para beber, and to drink. She says, He says, yo quiero un vino blanco. I like to have white wine. And she says, y yo agua mineral sin gas. Notice again, mineral water sin gas, without gas. So she does not like the carbonated water, or doesn't want it tonight at least. Okay, and finally, in our last few thought bubbles, we can see he's bringing out the food. He says, aquí tienen, buen provecho. So, aquí tienen, here you go, and buen provecho, which is kind of like bon appetit. I forget how that's translated all of a sudden. Let's eat, or shoot, buen provecho. It'll come to me in a second. Okay, and then over here, the guy says, salud, cheers, and he's holding up his glass of wine. And she toasts with her mineral water and says, salud, cheers. Okay, over here in Thought Bubble 7, which is a little squish, sorry about that, we can see them talking again. And the guy first says, los calamares están muy buenos hoy. ¿Qué tal el pescado? So, hey, the calamari is so good today. How's the fish? And she says, oh, está muy rico también. It's super rich, really tasty. Everything that's good is rico in Spanish, by the way. And over here, we now see the waiter talking to them. He says, ¿Desean ver la lista de postres? La especialidad de la casa es el flan casero. So would you all like to see, do you desire to see the dessert list? And the house specialty tonight is flan casero. And the woman here says, oh, no puedo más, estoy satisfecha. Oh, no more, I can't do anymore. I'm satisfied, or I'm full. Estoy satisfecha. It's a more polite way of saying like estoy lleno, I'm full. Estoy satisfecha. Okay, and the guy says back, well, yo también estoy satisfecho. I'm also satisfied. Notice she said satisfecha because she's feminine. She's a woman. And he said satisfecho because he's male. He continues to ask for la cuenta, por favor. The bill, please. And he says, yo te invito. Literally, I, to or for you, invite. So yo te invito, I invite you, or it's my treat, we might say. Let me get the bill. I'm going to take care of it for both of us, right? And she says, gracias. Okay? So just some general restaurant vocabulary for you there. There's a bunch more in your book that you can read in more detail and study. But something you might be asked to do this week, I'm going to give you some expressions, and you're going to have to tell if each one is logical, lógica, or no. And so, for example, in the model, you can see the cliente, the client or the customer, talking to the mesero, the waiter, and the client says, está fresca la langosta. It's the lobster fresh. And the waiter says, te invito, my treat. I'm paying for you. That's not quite logical, right? No es lógico. The waiter should probably say something like, ¿Cómo no? Está muy fresca. Of course, it's very fresh, right? So you can also correct what they're going to say. So if they say it wrong. Number one, the client says, ¿Podemos ver el menú? Could we see the menu? And the waiter says, salud, cheers. That doesn't make sense, right? That's no es lógico. No es lógico. Number two, the waiter says, y para beber, and to drink. And the client says, las arepas, por favor, and to drink. And, oh, we want the arepas, please. Well, you can't drink arepas. No, that's no es lógico. Las arepas son una comida, no una bebida. Y número tres, el mesero says, algo para picar. Would you like something to munch on, an appetizer? And the client says, quisiera agua mineral sin gas. I would like some mineral water without gas, non-carbonated water. That also doesn't make sense, right? Because you don't get water as an appetizer usually. Okay, so I think you guys can handle that. Okay, our third structure. This is getting a little tricky. All right, so this is probably the hardest part of the lesson. Make sure you're paying attention. Here we're talking about stem changers and the preterite. So what this means, when I'm talking about stem changers, I want you to think back to the present tense. There were three kinds of stem changers, and these were E to IE, E to I, and O to UE. Those are the three kind of stem changers that we studied extensively in Spanish 1010 that you saw a lot about. You should know those. And this is where it gets tricky. If a verb is a stem changer and it's an AR or an ER verb, nothing happens to it in the preterite. Okay, there's no stem change. If it was a stem, one more time, if it was a stem changer in the present tense and it's an AR or an ER verb, it does not stem change in the preterite. You just chop off the AR. For example, pensar, normally had a stem change from E to IE in the present tense. So you got like pienso, piensas, piensa, pensamos, pensáis, piensan, right? However, here in the preterite tense, there is no stem change. It stays as an E. So you just chop off your AR and throw your endings on there. Pensé, pensaste, pensó, pensamos, pensasteis, pensaron. No stem changes, totally cool. No need to do anything else, okay? However, if you have a verb that is an IR verb and it is a stem changer in the present tense, it is still going to stem change in the preterite, but it's only going to stem change in the third person singular and third person plural forms of the verb, aka your bottom left and bottom right boxes from before. So let me give you that one more time. If a verb is an IR verb and it has a stem change in the present tense, it is going to change in the preterite tense, but it's only going to change in the bottom left and bottom right boxes. Notice the third person. And the stem change is going to be shortened. So, for example, if a verb normally changes from E to IE, it's only going to change from E to I, and only in the third person. If a verb normally changes from E to I, it's still going to change from E to I, but only in the third person. And if a verb normally changes from O to UE, it's only going to change from O to U and only in the third person. An example of this last one is the verb volver. You can see they've chopped off the ER in volver. They added E, iste, io, imos, iste, sinieron. And there was no change here because it was an ER verb. AR and ER verbs don't change. The IR ones do. Let's look at some examples. Oh, and by the way, you need to know how to recognize these. So on your vocab sheet, you're going to see next to the verb preferir, you're going to see like parentheses with two kind of things here. So the first one, the first part before the comma is telling you that is the stem change that it has in the present tense. So preferir changes from an E to an IE. And it's the second E here that changes from an E to an IE. The second part in the parenthesis here after the comma is how it changes in the preterite. So now instead of changing from an E to an IE, it's only going to change from an E to an I, and it's only going to change in the third person. Okay, so for example, look at this sentence in the present tense. Marcela prefiere comer ahora. Marcela wants to eat right now. That's present tense. It changed from an E to an IE. They took this E right here, and let's see if I'll put it in red for you. We took that E and we changed it to an IE here, okay? In the preterite, if we want to say she preferred, we're changing that E now to an I, okay? And then we drop off our IR ending in preferir and add the EO in the preterite. So here we said, Paula prefirió hablar por teléfono anoche. So in this case, Paula preferred, instead of prefers, preferred to talk on the phone last night. Okay, so some more examples for you. Again, if a verb is an IR verb, this only applies to IR verbs, okay? Make sure, not AR, ER, only IR verbs. If a verb is an IR verb, like servir, that normally has a stem change, say from E to I, it's still going to change from E to I in the preterite. So again, look at the present here. Sirvo, sirves, sirve, servimos, servis, sirven. It changed everywhere that was inside the boot here, okay? All the way changed from an E to an I. In the preterite, it only changes in these bottom right boxes. My students have made up a name for this. They say, Mr. Harrison, we should call, if this is the boot, we should call this the snake in the boot. Okay, you can call it the snake in the boot. It only changes there in those bottom two boxes, the third person singular and the third person plural. And it changed from an E to an I still. So sirvio and sirvieron instead of servio and servieron. Okay, your E changed to an I there. Okay, again, for IR verbs that normally have a stem change from E to IE, like say divertirse, with the E normally changing to an IE, me divierto, te divierte, se divierten. In the boot there, it changed from an E to an IE in the present. Okay, that means in the preterite, it's only going to change from an E to an I, and it's only going to change in these bottom left and bottom right boxes in the third person. So you get se divirtio and se divirtieron, but these stay the same as an E. Okay. Finally, if a verb is normally an IR verb and it normally changes from O to UE in the present, like dormir to sleep, duermo, duermes, duerme, duermen. See in the boot it changed from an O to a UE. That means in the preterite it's only going to change from O to U, and it's only going to change in the bottom left and bottom right boxes. So you end up with dormio and dormieron, with the O becoming a U. Dormio, dormieron. These up here still remain an O. It's only the third person that's affected. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. These are some common verbs that are often affected by, well, I say affected. These are the common preterite verbs that have stem changers. Okay, you've seen some of them already, like preferir, dormir. There's some others here. Conseguir, to get or to obtain. Despedir, or despedirse, to say goodbye to. Morir, morirse, to die. Pedir, to request or to ask for, also to order. Reírse, to laugh. Seguir, to follow or to continue. Vestirse, to get dressed. Sentirse, to feel. Sonreír, to smile. Notice reír, to laugh. Sonreír, to smile. And sugerir, to suggest. Okay, so again, the first part of the parenthesis before the comma refers to the stem change that it has in the present tense. The second part of the parenthesis after the comma refers to the stem change that it has in the preterite. Let's look at a few ejemplos here together. There's a model sentence in the present tense, and it's just asking you to rewrite the sentence in the preterite. So number one, the model says, consigo un boleto de avión para Caracas. So I get a plane ticket for Caracas. Instead of saying I get, we want to say I got a plane ticket in the past. I obtained a plane ticket. So in this case, your verb is conseguir, which normally, as you can see, has a stem change from E to I. It's an IR verb. It has a stem change from E to I. And that means that in the third person singular and plural, it is going to change from E to I still. However, we're in the yo form. So we just took conseguir, we chopped off our IR, we've added an I with an accent. So consegui, I got a plane ticket. That's normal old preterite. Just chop off your IR, add an I with an accent. Nothing fancy there. Okay, but look at number one. Cuando llego al aeropuerto, los agentes me piden el boleto. So when I arrive to the airport, the agents ask for my ticket. You want to put that in the past and say when I arrived to the airport, the agents asked me for my ticket. Okay, so in this case, my verb was llegar. I chopped off my AR, and you know that verbs that end in gar change to gay. So I ended up with llegué. That's one of those irregular yo verbs we talked about earlier. So cuando llegué al aeropuerto, los agentes me pidieron el boleto. Notice the verb pedir normally has a stem change from E to I in the present. That means that it's also going to have a stem change from E to I in the preterite, but only in the third person singular and plural, which is why you ended up with pidieron with an I instead of pedieron with an E. Okay, I want you to take a moment and I want you to pause your audio, giving numbers 2 and 3 a try. Let's talk about what these mean first before you pause. Number 2, al llegar, upon arriving, prefiero ir a la casa de Bolívar primero. So upon arriving, I prefer to go to the house of Bolívar first. Number 3, varias personas me sugieren unas discotecas en el distrito Las Mercedes. So a lot of people, various people have suggested to me some discotheques or some bars in the Las Mercedes district. Okay, so now I want you to take this information, I want you to put it in the past tense. So instead of I prefer, I preferred. Instead of they suggest, they suggested. So you're taking prefiero from the verb preferir, putting it in the preterite, and you're taking sugieren from the verb sugerir and putting that in the preterite. Pause your audio and give this one a try, please. Okay, now that you've had a second to try these, as you look, number 2, al llegar, preferí. Notice there's no change here because this is the yo form. I preferred. Preferir will have a change because it normally changes from E to IE. So therefore in the preterite it is still going to change to E to I, but it only does that in the third person. And here, preferí, I'm in the first person. So pretty easy. Chop off your IR in preferir and throw an I with an accent on the end. Number 3, varias personas me sugieren, sorry, that's the present tense, me sugieren. Varias personas me sugirieron unas discotecas. Various people suggested to me some bars, blah, blah, blah. Well, suggested, sugerir, normally has a stem change from E to IE. So therefore in the preterite, it's only going to change from me to I. It has a shortened stem change. And it's only going to change in the third person singular and plural forms. In this case, various people, they, would fall in that bottom right box, the third person plural. So I'm going to say that varias personas me sugirieron unas discotecas. All right, hopefully you're feeling a little better about those. As we keep moving here, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the expression hace plus a period of time plus a que, which is one of your grammar focuses in this chapter. And this is how you would say that it's been blah, blah, blah time since. Okay, so notice in the question, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que? How much time has it been since whatever verb in the preterite? So I just put this in here. ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que comiste en Chick-fil-A? How long has it been since you ate at Chick-fil-A? ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que comiste en Chick-fil-A? Well, you're going to answer, and you're answering using an hace, a time, and a que, plus a verb in the preterite. So I could say that hace 2 días que comí allí. So hace, no changes there. 2 días, that's just the amount of time. You could say 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever. 2 días, 3 días, 5 días, doesn't matter. It's been however many time, how many days. Que, since, comí in the preterite. So you took comer, you chopped off your ER, you threw an I with an accent on there. So hace 2 días que comí in Chick-fil-A. Hace 2 días que comí allí. It's been 2 days since I ate there. I prefer that top route of answering. However, there is another option. You can also say, you can just, the exact same words, just in a different order. You can put your verb first, like still in the preterite tense, followed by an hace and a time expression. So, comí allí, I ate there, hace 2 días, 2 days ago. So instead of it's been 2 days since I ate there 2 days ago. Okay, so both are perfectly acceptable. Okay, so another example, if you go back to the question, ¿Cuánto tiempo hace que comiste en Chick-fil-A? Hace 2 días que comí allí, or comí allí hace 2 días. Both are correct. Okay, folks, that brings us full circle. So in this chapter, you learned how to communicate about food, beverages, and dining. Learned how to make comparisons, both equal and unequal comparisons. Learned how to express superlatives like best, worst, the kindest, the softest, so on and so forth. Learned how to order food and beverages in a restaurant. You learned how to use the regular preterite, the stem changing preterite, and those ZAR verbs in the preterite. And you learned how to utilize the hace plus a period of time plus a que expression to state how long it's been since something happened. Guys, as always, if you have any questions or uncertainties, feel free to reach out to me. My email is mtharrison@pstcc.edu. I respond to emails within 24 hours. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. You guys have a wonderful week. Take care.